Permian fauna. Welcome, guys, once again to the channel, Ranking with Dinosaurs, where we rank, you guessed it, dinosaurs. However, once again, for the, I don't know, like, for which time already. Sorry. We're going to be not ranking dinosaurs, but Permian animals. Yes. This period that most of us paleo enthusiasts are pretty, accustomed and, pretty knowledgeable in. Not like as much as dinosaurs, I think I am, but, I do know most of these Permian animals. I did have to do a lot of research, though. But the general public probably doesn't have, the amount of exposure to these creatures. Some of them, I'm pretty sure most people can see them, but, they have a pretty wrong view of them. Or, like, not very accurate way of seeing them. But today we're going to be ranking them. Obviously, not every single Permian animal, but, I think I picked a pretty, diverse group. Diverse, amount of animals here. So, we're going to be starting with DIMETRODON. So, we're going to be starting with a pretty well-known one, even by the general public. DIMETRODON is a phenactodontid synapsid. So, synapsids differ from anapsids. The easiest way to put it, because there's a bunch of different things, is the big hole that it has in its skull. This guy, synapsids do not have that. But DIMETRODON, again, it is pretty well known. One of the most popular Permian animals, definitely. What I didn't know, and a lot of people don't know, or maybe you do, is that DIMETRODON has a plethora of different species. It's insane. I think I counted, I believe 8 are now accepted. But the crazy thing is that they vary in size, a lot. Like, you go from, 5 feet animals to, 15. And you go from, 60-pound little guys to, 550-pound absolute units. So, DIMETRODON is an animal that clearly varied a lot. And this is all in the Permian, so some of them coexisted with each other. But, these guys were quadrupedal, almost very low to the ground. And they had those splayed arms and legs, like limbs, which, gave them the method of locomotion is different than other tetrapods, more advanced tetrapods, because, as you know, more splayed means that, it kind of, not necessarily like a crocodile, but a more upright looking crocodile, I want to say. And they had a very long tail, and, their most prominent feature, again, is that large sail, those tall neural spines, which, again, it was thought to be used for thermal regulation, but right now that is not accepted, as very small animals do. Also, the smallest species of DIMETRODON still have those sails, and if you're a small animal, you don't really need that much external help for thermal regulation. So it was probably used just for courtship. Courtship between each other. They have a tall skull, a curved skull, and had 2 types of teeth, which gives it its name, DIMETRODON. 2 types of teeth, which is, something weird for that time. Yes. So, DIMETRODON, again, not a dinosaur, first of all. Didn't even coexist with dinosaurs. They're not even contemporary. But it is its own thing. It is, again, a synapsid. So, DIMETRODON, do I have to put it in S tier right away? I'm going to put it in A tier for now. I'm not going to use my S tier spots yet. DIPLOCAULUS. Now, this guy's a lipospondal amphibian. So, yes, amphibians were alive back in the day. Amphibians were some of the first tetrapods as well. And DIPLOCAULUS is very distinct, being the largest known, lipospondal, and one of the best known as well. And it's very characterized because of its boomerang ass head. Bro, that thing is wide. And we don't know, the extent of what it might have looked like 100%, but we do know that it had a big ass head. Again, boomerang in shape. Very characteristic of the guy. and had a pretty salamander type of body. And although it's like it reached lengths of 3.3 feet, it's still not as big as today's giant salamanders, which are even bigger than that. Just to give you an idea. But even though we don't have a tail still for DIPLOCAULUS, we do know it was anguilliform in shape. Anguilliform meaning it was had an eel-like form, like shape, because that was its main method of locomotion in the water. You know how eels swim in the water. That's basically the method that DIPLOCAULUS used, and the function for its head is actually very debated because with a head like that, you gotta know what it was for. And apparently, I mean, it was thought to have, like sensors, like, they fought with it, they were to attract mates, it could have been, but a recent study actually showed that it actually worked for like a lift mechanic while it was swimming. So it actually helped it swim very fast in fast-flowing water, which helped it hunt much better because the head, if it just tilted a little bit up, it actually, swimming in fast waters would make it go even faster. So I think that's pretty neat. DIPLOCAULUS, do I have to put it at A tier? I don't think so. So just a little bit below. I think B tier is good for DIPLOCAULUS. COTYLORHYCHUS. Now, this is a casid synapsid. So again, related to, well, not related to DIMETRODON, but, a synapsid. Instead of, like dinosaurs or anything. Or like amphibians. So, COTYLORHYCHUS is actually very well known because we found a large number of specimens. It was a large herbivore, first of all. And I think the most prominent feature is, again, Permian animals were like, just let's try out different things. And this guy had a tiny head. When I say tiny, I mean tiny. Because compared to its rotund body, which is huge, barrel, massive shaped body with some short limbs, but very robust, with some big claws too. The head was like, I don't know, in comparison, it was I don't know how to describe it. It's like if you put the head of a different animal on top of this one. Like if you put like I don't know, like a deer head, or I don't know, like a turtle head. Yeah, a turtle head on top of a hippopotamus. That's I don't know why that's the first thing that came to mind, but that's the best way I can describe it. It's so weird. It had some interestingly large nostrils. I don't know why. A slope forehead, and it did have teeth, so it was a herbivore, a very weird herbivore again. And add to all of this, it had a pretty long tail for some reason. Again, I don't know. This thing is just just let's put a bunch of things together. You think the platypus is weird? This thing is even weirder, I think, because this thing was huge again. Aside from that, it probably had to eat all day to maintain the rotundness of its body. And although it's mostly known as a terrestrial animal, it is proposed that it might have had some semi-aquatic lifestyle choices. So, COTYLORHYCHUS, he's so weird. Oh my god. I mean, if we're talking weirdness, it's definitely going in S tier, but I think B tier is good for it. EDAPHOSAURUS. Now, EDAPHOSAURUS is you guys said it, edaphosaurid, but it is a very important animal. It is one of the earliest known large plant-eating amniote tetrapods that we discovered. One of the earliest ones. So we've known about EDAPHOSAURUS for a long time. This guy had large tooth plates in its mouth to process all that vegetation, as this was a big boy, like 12 feet, 660 pounds. Like, this is bigger than the biggest DIMETRODON if we're talking about mass. Again, the most characteristic thing about Edaphosaurus is that that sail, once again, same as Dimetrodon. However, it was very different in the shape and the morphology of it. However, even if it did have a sail and it was different, it probably served like a similar function, basically. Mostly for, courtship or just show it off. I don't know, scare predators to appear bigger, basically. It did have a small head though, because it was a herbivore. It had a small triangular shape with a deep jaw, which was much wider than Dimetrodon, but again much less tall, I might say. But yeah, Edaphosaurus is a lot of times, most of the times, what you call it, mistaken by Dimetrodon, but as we discussed, they are. I mean, closely related is not a word that we use, but I guess they're both synapsids, so you could say that, and they have sails, but they're actually not that closely related to each other. Again, it did have that long tail as well, so they do look in body plan kind of similar, but if you start seeing the little details, you can actually see that they're quite different. And Edaphosaurus might have served as a prey item to Dimetrodon as well. Would have been difficult to to hunt though. Edaphosaurus, I don't know if I like it as much as these two guys. I think I might put it in C tier too. Yeah, Edaphosaurus, C tier. Very important though. Very important, so I might put it in B tier, and I might lower DIPLOCAULUS. INOSTRANCEVIA. Now we're going to be moving on. Another one of the most famous Permian animals from the list. It's a Gorgonopsid, therapsid from the late Permian. Again, this was at the end of the Permian, so this guy's been found in Russia and South Africa, which is breath of fresh air from North American and Asian animals in general. It's cool to see places like South Africa or Russia being highlighted as fossil sites. But yeah, this is the largest Gorgonopsid. 12 feet long. It had a very advanced dentition, which means that it had these very large canines, 6 inches long, that it probably used in conjunction with a very large jaw opening. So it meant that its jaws could open really wide and use those canines very effectively, because again, this is a big animal, so it was probably hunting big game to inflict. Again, it's inflicting fatal bites in these guys because it ate or hunted Dicynodonts and Parasaurus, which is its most famous member is SCUTOSAURUS, which we will talk about as well. Although it had a very robust skeleton, it was still a very fast animal, specifically because it had an upright stance. So a lot of the animals that we've discussed previously had this splayed stance. I talked about it with Dimetrodon, which, greatly reduced their maneuverability. Well, not maneuverability, but their speed, which is not a problem for INOSTRANCEVIA. It can just chase prey like relentlessly and at a pretty high speed as well. But yes, INOSTRANCEVIA, again, one of the most famous ones, has appeared in Walking with Monsters and a pretty cool show called Primeval 2. If you've seen it, let me know in the comments. But INOSTRANCEVIA is amazing. It's like saber-toothed cats are prehistoric, but INOSTRANCEVIA is like a even more prehistoric saber-tooth. So I'm gonna put it in S tier. SCUTOSAURUS, the shield lizard. Again, SCUTOSAURUS is not a dinosaur, and I think I previously referred to dinosaurs as anapsids, which obviously not. They're sauropsids. God damn it. I apologize about that, but SCUTOSAURUS is an anapsid, and is known as the shield lizard because of those large plates of armor that are across its body. And SCUTOSAURUS is actually not closely related to turtles, but the the closest, like, very ancient relative of the turtles that we have today. So Scutosaurus actually, again, held its legs under its body, and mostly for support because this was a heavy animal. 1.2 tons is huge, and when I say huge, I mean in just in weight, because if you can see from the picture, actually from the image, Scutosaurus is not like large in terms of length, or like that weight is tightly packed. 1.2 tons for this animal is like huge. It's like so much weight. So the animals like INOSTRANCEVIA had to really work to get this guy. But yes, and one of the other things that this guy, again, was very short, very robust. Its head was also very short, but it had some weird cheeks. They strongly flare like out and ended in like bosses. And it actually features like a small horn, like right behind the nostril. So I don't know. I think Scutosaurus is. I thought it was weird first of all because it did appear again in Walking with Monsters, but like researching about it, it's kind of even more. It's kind of even weirder than before. I don't know. Scutosaurus is actually pretty awesome looking, and I know a lot of, for example, a lot of media, like sci-fi media, takes inspiration from, prehistoric animals. But I think Scutosaurus is the most, I don't know, like Star Wars creature that we have, that I've seen, like that actually lived. So Scutosaurus, I'm going to put it in A tier. ERYOPS. Now, this guy is a Temnospondyl. Again, this is from the early Permian, and it is only known from a single species, represented by a single species. And even though we have found a lot of several complete skeletons of ERYOPS, I think they mostly consist of, well, not mostly consist, no, one second. ERYOPS. Now, this guy is a Temnospondyl from the early Permian, and it is represented by a single species, again, and we have found several complete skeletons of ERYOPS, actually, but the most numerous fossils, the most numerous fossil that we found is actually our skull bones, which are very, very common, and coupled with teeth. Those are also very common. And this guy had a very large skull. It looked like an amphibian, honestly. Kind of looked like one of those very early tetrapods, which, this body plan was the one that started it. So it did look like it. It had numerous curved teeth, again, which were really strong, really stress resistant too, because this was a semi-aquatic predator. It had their palates were contained like rows of like backwards fangs, which is kind of freaky looking. And as a semi-aquatic animal, it did need these extra strong teeth and palate fangs, call it like that, and because it needed to trap some slippery prey. Those underwater prey needed to get caught somehow. But yes, ERYOPS. I'm not gonna lie, it's not winning me over. It pains me that I have to do this. But ERYOPS, I'm gonna put you in C tier. This hurts me because I'm putting. I don't think DIPLOCAULUS is at the level of ERYOPS. I think it's much cooler. So I'm gonna bump DIPLOCAULUS again to B tier. ESTEMMENOSUCHUS. Now, the crown crocodile. We come at the end of the tier list with one of the strangest looking ones. I mean, this thing is freaky looking. This is the largest omnivorous therapsid that we know of that's been discovered, and it contains two species which are, characterized by a distinctive horn-like structures around its head. Very weird looking. Like, these probably were used more for interest-specific, display, maybe some shoving matches between males, but very weird looking. They kind of look like moose antlers. They kind of grow upwards and outwards and from the sides as well. very strange looking. This guy's mainly found in Russia. Again, if you want to find some Permian fossils, just go to Russia, I guess. And from analysis from its shoulder joints, we actually can tell that it had the sprawling stance, unlike INOSTRANCEVIA and SCUTOSAURUS. This guy was much more, sprawled up. Wait, what? But yeah, it actually had. We actually found some skin impressions from ESTEMMENOSUCHUS, which shows more of a granular texture, so kind of like a hairless mammal, or like frogs too. That's what it is described like. But yeah, ESTEMMENOSUCHUS is pretty weird, but its lifestyle, I mean, I think the closest thing you can compare it to, I think it's a hippopotamus. It's, probably terrestrial, but also have some semi-aquatic, qualities to it. Might have spent some time in the water as well. And when I say omnivorous, I say it really. I say it with a grain of salt, because this thing looks freaky. Like this thing could eat you in one bite. This thing is like 10 feet long, pretty big. But that head is huge, 65 centimeters in length, and those teeth do not mess around, bro. Like, that thing is scary looking. And I think as well, like in the past, as hippopotamus today, nothing would have messed with it. If you get caught in those jaws, you are toast. But again, ESTEMMENOSUCHUS, I love it. It's so weird. Again, this is an alien creature basically. So, I mean, I am gonna put it in S tier. So that's it, guys, for the tier list. Permian fauna tier list. Let me know in the comments. How would you make your tier list? Which is your favorite Permian animal ever? And if I miss it on this list, let me know so I can do a part 2 maybe. Originally, this thing had like 12 creatures, but I'm like, okay, wait. I can do a part 2. I don't want to make this video too long. But yes, this is the Permian fauna tier list, guys. Please like the video. It helps a lot. Subscribe. It helps even more. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you guys so much.